Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Jay Whitaker. I'm an actor, comedian, host of the Incredibly Vocal Minority podcast, and I'm a panelist on the Geek Show podcast. You may wonder why you're hearing my stupid voice right now. Well, it's because I needed to kind of explain something to you. What you're about to listen to is something that can happen completely by accident and just a lot of text and Facebook messages with good people and good friends. So a group of people wanted to discuss Black Panther and spoil the crap out of it for everybody, and just break it down from a Black perspective. Now, what we didn't realize is what we accidentally created something special because this episode is dope as shit. That's right, it's dope as shit. And the folks over at Big Shiny Robot were much love to Tom and Anna for just helping us out and put this together. Much love to Kari for securing the space. Much love to all the panelists that came out and made this something super special. So this episode happened by accident, and so we didn't want to push it as just one podcast doing it. No, this is a collective of podcasts. It's a community. We're all geeks who represent allies, people of color, the LGBTQIA community, and women especially. And our job is to not gatekeep. We don't want to gatekeep. We want to open bridges, build bridges, and break down barriers. And so we want to have dialogues, not diatribes, okay? So this is the SLC Sitdown, and this is how we get down. You feel me? You picking up what I'm laying down? You hear me knocking? Well, let me in, baby. Damn. Okay, so this episode is the first unofficial episode where we spoil the shit out of Black Panther, SLC Wakanda. And we're going to try to do these, once a month on Facebook Live them. So follow us on the Facebook page and Twitter. We'll get all that stuff up. So just be on the lookout for the SLC Sitdown, which is a community collective of many different podcasts and families. So much love to you. I'm going to keep Big Shiny Podcast's original audio here. I just had to jump on and do a very brief explanation. This is not brief. I'm at 2 minutes and 30 seconds at this point. This is way too much, or something like that. Yeah. So, all right. Well, peace. Enjoy. Here it is.
The Big Shiny Robot podcast is brought to you by the Bohemian Brewery.
This is Tyson.
This is John.
This is Rebecca.
This is Nick.
This is still Tom.
This is Lucas, and you're listening to the Big Shiny Robot podcast.
Hey everybody, I wanted to do a quick intro for this. This is a little different than what we normally do on the Big Shiny podcast. We had a really cool opportunity to sit in on a discussion of Black Panther with quite a great days of panelists, and we felt that it would make more sense for their breakdown and their insights to be something we present versus our insights. So, pretty excited. The list of guests is in the description. And I think this is something really neat and special, and I'm happy to have been a part of it, and I hope you enjoy it.
Just fall back for a second. All right. What's up, y'all? We live. Can y'all hear me? Do we do a sound check? I'm hoping I sound good. Good evening, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Welcome to SLC Wakanda. My name is Jay Whitaker. I'm a comedian and an actor. I'm on the Geek Show podcast. I'm doing an Incredibly Vocal Minority podcast. We have a great panel. You're probably wondering why you're watching this. We're going to spoil the shit out of Black Panther, the movie. Like, we're going to give it a full, complete. This is not a review. This is a complete spoiler with breakdown. This is not the Cliff Notes. This is not the Spark Notes. This is the notes. This is the text. This is the text. So I'm gonna go around and introduce. And this is crazy how this all came together. I'm gonna let everybody introduce themselves first, and just keep it brief, and we'll start, get everything going.
Okay, well, I'm Stefan Watson. I head the Cracked Brain podcast as well as Cracked Brain Entertainment. I'm primarily known a little bit more for cosplaying and speaking with quite a few people there. So, yeah, that's kind of what I bring over here. A lot of costuming.
Is it me?
Yeah, go ahead.
My name is Jordan Block. I am a local huge queer nerd, and I do bioethics for queer and trans people of color here at the University of Utah. So yeah, that's what I'm bringing.
Hi, I am Kiki Furia. I am a cosplayer and your nerdy girl next door. You can find me on various social media platforms, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, and yeah, I'm freaking out because this is huge right now.
Nice. Came
but
together.
Wakanda
Man. Came
forever.
together.
Let's roll.
And I'm Dr. Paul H. White. I'm a social psychologist, a professor at the University of Utah in psychology and ethnic studies. A blurred, a geek grow, and I'm counting this as my 5th straight day of seeing Black Panther.
Yes, true
Wow.
representation. Thank you.
I like that. DeMar Jones, model, actor, retired military. Just a big fan of anything that's black. I'm sorry, I'm just got to put that out there. That's just what it is. So, yep. Next.
Hi, I'm Lex. I'm an activist. I founded the United Front Civil Rights Organization, and I'm one of the leaders of Black Lives Matter Utah. And I loved the movie and black representation, and I am a black nationalist who is a fan of the Black Panther Party. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Hi, I'm Ashley Finley. I am a performance poet and writer, and just a huge fan and aspiring Wakandan warrior. So you can find me on social media. Facebook is Finding Finley. My Instagram is finding.finley, and that is Finley. Or you can hit me up at findingfinley.com and see all of my shenanigans and musings.
Well, thank you. Round of applause just for y'all being here. Give yourself a round of applause. Round of applause to the viewers that are watching at home. But I do want to thank. Yes, there are a lot of people at this table, but there's also a lot of people that I have to thank that we could not have done this without. Starting off with Kari Keone, who allowed us to secure. To secure an undisclosed location that we will not be giving out. I would like to give a shout out to the Bagleys, Anna and Tom, for allowing us to help. J.D. Allen from Inglewood Films here, representing Alicia and Kat, just being here, just to support. And Tui, we know you out there in the streets. Get here safe, brother. All right. So first things first. That's the wrong notes, y'all. Okay. So now we all seen Black Panther at least 2 times. Our blackness requires it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. It's the law.
It's per law. And I would like to wish everybody a happy Black History Month. So thank you. Hope you guys enjoying that. But this, just initial thoughts as soon as you walked out of this film. Like just anybody. Just give me some thoughts when you.
I don't know how Italian people felt when they walked out of Rocky, but I kind of felt that way when I stepped out of that building, almost like I could take a bullet. I was daring somebody to do something. I felt some kind of pride like I've never felt before in my life. Like I looked around and I tried to find at least one other black person I could lock eyes with. Unfortunately, I couldn't. So I had to look at the reflection of myself in my beautiful as a single tear rolled down. I was happy. I felt real good, man. I'm glad to see us in something positive. You know, it just made me feel great. Like I could do anything. Kind of like when Obama got the presidency.
That first term was hot, boy.
That first term, I walked around my job with the chest poked out like never before.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Same thing here.
What about anybody else? Thoughts, emotions, feelings?
For mine, it was a lot of being proud. With me, I brought my 3 kids with me, and taking it out of there, all my kids. My oldest is 5 years old, and it was something where all of them just, I want to be Black Panther, I want to be Black Panther, and for the rest of the night it was nothing but just everyone running around, jumping off of everything. So for me, it was really cool because they could actually see someone that was like, oh man, he looks like me, and that's all that they said, like, he looks like me, okay, I'm gonna do this. So like I said, for me it was proud, just being proud.
Yes, indeed.
I love it.
Indeed.
Yeah, I would say it was pride, memories.
Memories.
Because from what I call the alpha, from the little boy asking, tell me a story of home, to the very last words we hear from the part of the movie, not giving the post-credit scenes, of who are you? All I could think of is like, that kind of encapsulates a lot of Blackness.
Oh yeah.
Home, trying to figure out who we are, and especially when Killmonger does the, imagine a little kid in Oakland running around believing in fairy tales. I put my town in my head when he said that, and I thought,
yes, indeed,
this little kid reading Black Panther and thinking, oh yeah, this is something I never thought I'd ever see.
Wow.
Did anybody hear?
Wow.
It is 2018. We have seen a black president. Did you ever think you would just wake up and be like, yeah, we're going to a Black Panther movie? Because that's what happened. Like, hey, let's go see a Black Panther movie. I never thought I'd hear that sentence in my life, because I grew up reading comics. A lot of us at this table grew up reading comics, and it was just like, did you ever think that we would be sitting here witnessing? I mean, now a lot of people wondering, well, Jay. And I'm sure we've all had some shit up in our inbox. But Jay, you guys had Blade. You guys had. Okay, he's a super.
Blink Man.
He's not a thug. He's not a hood. Okay, Blade. He's all right. The real winner is Blade's barber. That's his.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's the real winner.
An underrated hero.
Yeah, the underrated hero.
I never
is
quite
his
could
barber.
get that right.
That shape up is something else. But anyway, I'm saying is we're not day walking vampires. We are kings and queens. And
this movie took it home.
It took it home.
It took it home with that.
It's basically the Wakandans. They never knew slavery. So I like to think of
or colonialism.
Yeah, or yes. And so it's as we celebrate Black history, we also this pays a nod to Afrofuturism. It shows us what we could be and reminds us of who we are. So that's why this movie is so damn important for those out watching that just don't get it. It's because to understand, and that's why we all kind of assembled, is because I feel like, well, 2% of Utah is Black. That's 2%, and that's an improvement from when I moved here in 2004 when it was 0.1%.
0.1%.
It was 0.1%.
Oh my God.
0.1%. That's not even good skim milk. Okay. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Good skin.
I mean, that's
Stick with me.
That's good. That's good. That's that bottom part of the milk, and you need to put water in it to get you that extra cereal. That's what's up.
Milk. That's just watered down milk. There's layers to that shit. All right. Anyways, there's layers to what I just said. But anyways, I feel like I needed to call upon everybody, and I mean, like, it's not just me that assembled this. This is a combination of many brilliant minds. But I think what's so dope about this movie is how it affected us in so many different ways. Lex being an activist, Ashley being a writer, Damar being a veteran, Kiki being a cosplayer, Jordan being a member of the queer community, Dr. White, I mean, you a doctor and shit. So isn't
that what it says on your business card?
Is that what your business card says? Doctor and shit.
I may have to add that one.
Yeah,
But I mean, this affects us in so many different ways, and so I think it was important to really express how this movie made us feel. And and for the record, people watching, we're gonna spoil the shit out of this movie. So if you haven't seen this movie,
Spoiling it.
sorry.
It is one big
This is
spoiler.
we're gonna spoil this. So we're gonna talk about, but I feel like a good jump off point is we also had Get Out, movies like Get Out that are bringing awareness, having that, creating that dialogue that shows that Black people deal with some weird, awkward shit. These little weird microaggressions that were shown in Get Out, and then we get Black Panther. So what's next? What movie do we need to really hit home? Because I feel like at some point, I feel sorry. I won't say I feel sorry, but I definitely kind of worry about the next Black filmmaker because you got to come right after Black Panther. I mean, like
you got to come after.
like somebody like Spike Lee's like I got to go after that. So I mean, what kind of movie do we need next?
I was thinking about this kind of as like a jumping off point. And Black Panther does have some tie-ins of this, but like right before this, there was, after the Super Bowl, they teased, what was that movie? Cloverfield Paradox?
Yes.
There was a big thing on Twitter about it because Ava hyped it up, and Gugu Bambucha Ra was in it. Shi Shang was in it, who is legit. I loved her. Other dude was in it, whose name I always forget. He was in something. And it was like a pretty diverse cast. And it was, I could tell there was like something in there with Ava hyping it up, that it is led by women, it is led by people of color. And that felt good to see. It felt good to see people that looked like me, people who weren't just white men in space in a sci-fi context, but I'd like to see that bigger. I'd like to see the Black Panther of sci-fi.
Yeah.
I'd like to see, especially Afrofuturism being as big as it is, especially with Octavia Butler doing everything that she did for sci-fi.
Yes.
Man.
Blackness has so many elements to it that are so richly metaphorized with sci-fi, and Black people have done so much to shape it that not does it only feel right for Blackness to have a big presence in sci-fi, it feels necessary for now.
Huh.
Oh, yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I mean,
Damn.
And I love me some sci-fi.
Yeah,
so.
no,
See?
because I think the reason, and this may come out wrong, but the way, like there's shows like Confederate that are being in production, and there's also and then there's also the opposite, which is Black America that are being put together, and it's just like now I feel those are great, with the exception of Confederate. I think we already know the history, and I think that's why Afrofuturism, that's why we need to start seeing that, because we all know that same story. And I mean, and I do believe our history is important, but at the same time, I feel like sometimes, and this is just my personal opinion, we may get blinded by our history so much that we just forget about where we want to go as a future. You know what I mean? And that's why this world of Wakanda, and a lot of people, you know, are like, well, what's the big damn deal? It's not even a real place. Well, guess what? Hogwarts ain't a place.
Oh,
Also,
I had somebody in my mentions go to that
Krypton?
place with me,
Yeah.
and I would just like to remind everybody that a lot of these elements, a lot of these themes of Wakanda, most of the biggest ones draw on African nations that already existed in history.
Exactly.
The only uncolonized nation, Ethiopia, is represented in Wakanda. The richest nation in the world, I forget, was it Mali or something, represented in Wakanda. And she's so biggest military in the world, represented in Wakanda. These are things that have been a part of African history that are challenged or channeled into a contemporary context. So it's not all fiction. Part of it's a callback, and that is specifically directed at everybody in my mentions.
Specifically. Hey, that's Tui. Sorry.
Yeah. Everybody, Tui just walked in the room. What's up, Tui? Tui from Watchtower Cafe.
I'm sorry about
man.
your drinks. I was late and I hit another car and everybody's drinks fell. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
No, we're just glad you're okay.
Kitty's was the only one that's
That's why I'm glad I got that hug. Sip,
Yeah.
sip, sip, I sip.
Yeah, it's all good. We're just glad you made
Thank
it.
you,
We're glad you're
Tui.
okay.
It
I love you.
Let's see. No, so. And all right, now let's break down let's get to the movie. We already know how we felt. So now I'm saying, what's next for the Infinity War? I mean, like you got, like, for those who know the story, now we got like spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Guess what? Black Panther, Wakanda, they're gonna start opening up their doors with technology and start sharing technology. And so now they're gonna start working with the Avengers. And so Wakandans, Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, going head up against Thanos. And now, what I'm mostly excited to see is Letitia Wright as Shuri going with Tony Stark. Technology.
Yes.
And if you guys aren't familiar with I don't even know if they've done the character, but there's room for this character. Iron Heart.
Yes, Riri Williams.
Yeah, Iron Heart. For those who don't know who Iron Heart is, that's Riri Williams. She's basically like a 13, was he teenage girl?
Teenage girl.
Yes, teenage girl.
Teenage girl.
From MIT.
Yeah, from MIT. Black girl. Black, got a big afro, and she is Iron Heart, who's basically the new Iron Woman, if you will. And so, Tui, thank you so much for being here. We got to get you on the because a lot of people wonder. And I'm gonna squash this shit right now because I'm sorry you even had to deal with this. A lot of people may not know he is your descent.
Tongan.
Yeah, exactly.
Pacific Islands.
So a lot of people might be wondering why they were asking why is he on the panel? Well, first of all, we need to be intersectional and that's the only way this is going to work. So thank you and trust me, when Aquaman comes out, we saying it with you, bro. Right.
No, Jay, I appreciate so much. I'm humble. I'm trying to set up my Watchtower feed, but I'm really humbled that you even invited me to be on the panel. And I was messaging you, and I was talking to Kari too, that like I saw so many similarities in this movie to my own culture.
Right.
And this, I don't have a religion. Comic books and superheroes are my religion, and this is the most important comic book superhero movie that's ever been made, in my opinion.
Yes.
And so to see the importance of this panel was important to me, and I felt like it was important that it was a black panel and there were black voices that were represented on this, and so I asked to just step back, and you're not letting me.
But you the homie.
All right.
You the homie.
All right. Okay. I'm here though.
You the homie. No,
right.
I mean we like, and it's just
important though.
Really, it's not enough. It's not enough mics. I mean, there's a lot of people that want people to be here, but I wanted to get a lot of representation. But anyway, back to whole Infinity War. What do you guys want to see going into that? Like, how do you, like, any thoughts, feelings on that?
I'm trying to see if it's a stone in there.
You trying to see if it's a stone?
It's got to be a stone.
It's got to, yeah. Because I was expecting the stone to be in this one,
right?
And it wasn't, and so I'm like, it's got to be an Infinity War.
And then it's funny that you were trying to figure if there was an Infinity Stone, because I genuinely thought, because there's so much the negative shit that was coming from the internet. You know, a lot of people were trying to boycott this movie because it was racist. We'll get to that dumb shit in a minute. But a lot of people were trying to boycott this movie because they thought it was racism. So I figured the directors, Kevin Feige and all that, you know, were smart enough to say, like, we're going to put something that they have to see that will force them to see this movie, like an Infinity Stone. And unfortunately, we didn't get that. But I think we'll see something. There's got to be an Infinity Stone in Wakanda.
Because we got one.
Come on now. Isn't the last stone left the soul one?
Yes,
that was in Doctor Strange.
Soul?
Like, well, the last one was in Doctor Strange.
Yeah, but the
next
soul
one,
stone.
yeah,
the soul stone.
Exactly.
You're going to tell me the soul stone ain't in Africa?
Right?
Exactly.
It's the soul stone. Soul. Sorry. Solid. This is gonna be. It's not even a stone. This is gonna be a big black ass fist.
Yeah.
You got
find it. Ridiculous, but yeah. I think that's the next step. One of my favorite tweets I saw is how Black Panther, when he shows up in Civil War, he is helping out everybody. He's not there as a sidekick. And that's what's so dope about it, because we get Falcon, we get Luke Cage, we get War Machine. They're and those are great characters, and no disrespect to them, but we get a lead guy who's in control of shit.
Yep.
He's just like, yo, I got this shit, and it's funny because he impresses everybody in America, but as soon as he gets back to Wakanda, everybody roasts the shit out of him.
Yes, exactly.
Got it.
He was rumbling
that
roasted. What are those? Toes.
And that was the best analog, because like if you're black, you could be everybody, you could be the president of the United States. And when you go home, you are just, everybody's little cousin. And it doesn't matter again. And that felt so true.
Well, one of the things I'm wondering about, and it would be I think it'd be a kind of nice setup with Wakanda opening up, that Tony Stark, with Thanos and all that happening, gets his ass kicked, realizes, oh shit, I'm not the smartest. I need more.
Yeah.
And here's T'Challa going,
We got
come
you.
on,
We got
come
you,
on.
bro.
Get this man a shield.
Get that man a shield. I was saying that shit in the house all the time.
And we know, spoiler, White Wolf.
Yeah.
At the
White
end, we
Wolf
see
at the
White
end.
Wolf.
Yeah. White Wolf at the end.
So Winter Soldier is now going to be repurposed in that way.
Yes.
And here's going to be T'Challa coming in with, okay, we've got you. Don't worry. My little sister's going to give you the tech. We've got Captain America. We've got Winter Soldier here.
Well, Doctor, it's interesting you bring up the White Wolf scene, and I really want to touch base on this. I've been messaged from a lot of people. Some people had a problem with when Shuri said, "Another broken white boy for me to fix."
Yes.
A lot of people said that's racist. No, it's not racist.
It's not.
You're fucking morons. It's a clue to who's left on
Yes.
to who they found.
Exactly.
How else are you supposed to describe another white dude
Yeah, exactly.
on a continent full of black folks?
There just needs to be a flyer that's passed out to people that naming whiteness is not racist.
Yes. So,
Thank you.
exactly. But
Thank you.
I really like the fact that, because White Wolf is a character he's one of the Black Panther villains, actually.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know that. And so, repurposed. I like the way that you put that, because I think you have to look, and it's interesting that it's Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier is a character that's been around for a very long time, World War II.
Bucky.
And so there's I don't know if Ryan Coogler did that on purpose, but choosing Bucky to repurpose him is kind of exactly what needs to happen with this old guard kind of getting out of that mentality and repurpose yourself, because the world is changing. Diversity and culture is something that needs to be celebrated. And I don't like saying inclusive, included, but it needs to be. So it's when you say repurposed, that's exactly what a lot of people need to start doing, and repurpose yourself instead of hating all the damn time. So.
I'm not gonna lie, I was a little angry because I still haven't forgot what he did to Tony's parents, and it still don't sit well with me. But I was like, okay, you know what? I can hang with you. It felt good to see him again.
Yeah, it felt good, and the ladies in the theater I was at, as soon as they, dude, he woke up like, what's up?
How you doing?
Did a little hair flip.
How you doing?
Also, Captain America's hair in this and his beard are just.
It's too much.
It reminds me, and it's such a perfect time, because there was this meme of Jake Gyllenhaal talking to Lupita Nyong'o at some fashion show, and it's like on Jake Gyllenhaal is like that different type of white boy, and on Lupita Nyong'o is me being stupid, and that's exactly what I felt when Captain America walked out.
That's funny.
I just wanted to say something really quickly about the line, "Oh great, another broken white boy for me to," or white, whatever she said, like white person for us to fix. That line in the movie, like I had such a huge reaction to that line, because like in our theater, a lot of people just like laughed. They were like, "Oh, that's kind of funny, like it's quirky."
Robert.
But one of the things I think that Black Panther did so well was like they showcased like things with double entendres. I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, but it was like, yes, to the greater audience, that was probably really funny, But for someone like me who comes from a legacy of people who are constantly having to put like the task of fixing everything in our society, in our politics, in our in our communities, like that was so important. And one of the things I had said to Tui when we were talking about this was I literally said, like, I've never felt so seen by a movie, especially as a Black woman and a young Black woman, because I think a lot of even the narratives we get, in Black films are, so focused on like the patriarchal standards or like, the men. And so something like her saying that was it was profound to me, because I'm honestly tired of it. Like I would have that same thing. Like every time something goes wrong, I'm like, oh great, well I guess we have to fix it now. So I don't know.
And one makes you think about Hidden Figures, the movie like Hidden Figures,
right?
And where we're constantly hidden when we shouldn't be, and so and one of the things that we've already been talking about, we haven't even mentioned, the villain, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
That's my
We'll get to that.
Eric,
But I've noticed all we keep mentioning is the women.
Somebody give me some
The women in this movie had so much to do. Look at that poster up there.
Yep.
Yes.
You look. I mean, we are talking. Lupita Nyong'o, Letitia Wright, who was brilliant.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Angela Bassett.
Angela Bassett.
Auntie Angela.
I mean, what does she use? Oyaba Olay, because she is timeless.
Why did that woman not know?
I mean,
That's shea butter. That's African shea.
Shea butter just comes out of her pores.
That's cocoa butter. That's that good cocoa butter. The type that you gotta go.
Oils and berries in your hair.
You gotta go to that
apple
one
cider
store.
vinegar diet. And Denai
Gurira.
Yeah, they were all amazing.
Yes.
And so, and a lot of people don't know the Dora. What is it?
Dora Milaje.
Dora Milaje. A lot of people don't know this, but in the comics, those are his wives in training.
Yeah.
And I like how they just did not go into
They're
that.
like, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that.
And I really, but every single woman, the moment you are introduced to their characters on this film, has something to do. They are not a damsel in distress. The moment we see Lupita Nyong'o in the back of that truck, everybody's like, fall back. She's like, fuck that.
I mean, she grabbed. I mean, the lady in the ship grabbed the spear first.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Talk her down.
Oh, Koya,
Like, I got this. Yeah, I got this.
And so, and that's
Fearless.
and I'm telling you, I've seen as of today, I've seen this movie 3 times, and I went to the screening with Lex Scott with Utah Black Lives Matter, which was something special. And when Wakabi realized he totally fucked up, and he fucked up. Daniel Kaluuya, he fucked up. Yeah, he kind of sold us out. But when Okoye jumps in front of the Rhino.
Yes.
And he gets down on one knee and respects his black queen. My God. That theater, Lex, remember that theater? Remember that moment?
That was Mama.
Yep, that line when he says, "Would you kill me?" and she says, "For my country." Yes. She's like, "Don't forget that I have priorities that are inside of you."
And he was about to kill her anyway.
Exactly. Right. He is acting brand new, like he didn't just try to kill her.
I wouldn't even let him talk. I'd be like, no, a spade is a spade.
Exactly. We both know what it is.
Hold my shit.
Boy, bye.
Well, one of the things I said, I think I sent it to Jay, was the look on her face when they're in South Korea and she throws a spear through the car and the car smashes into it. That close up on her face, I'm like, that's what I want my confidence to be.
Yes.
That's what I want.
That's
even if it's just inside me, that's what I want. It's like, here's somebody who knows what she's doing and she fears nothing. It's like
the baddest bitch.
The baddest.
Yeah.
The baddest.
Like, oh.
Oh, and every single woman that was a part of the cast had everything to do. Shuri, Letitia Wright, you've seen her on Black Mirror, and Doctor Who. She's going to be in Ready Player One.
Oh.
A lot of people don't. Yeah, and that looks like an amazing film. And so it's to me, it was just inspiring to see. To watch the kids watch Shuri.
Yes.
Because she's a teenager. And she's a fucking genius.
Smart.
And just smart as a whip. And so like people just, I want to be, I want to be Shuri. And then you could tell the roughneck girls, they were like, I want to be a Okoye.
Right.
I ain't fucking with you. Okay, and so It was, and then Angela Bassett as
Ramona.
Yeah, Ramona.
Her elegance, though.
Yes.
Can we
Yes.
talk about how elegant she was? She is a queen. The way she just held herself, even when her beautiful locks. Her beautiful locks.
She is Storm.
Just-
I wish she was Storm.
I do too.
Right.
I wish the legal matters we could have made that work.
But just like, when she was in the snow, the camera angles on her, even though she was scared, she was still just this elegant, beautiful black woman. I'm a huge fan of Angela Bassett.
It's the role she always should have been
Yeah.
given.
Right.
She should have been given the chance to be royal. She should have been given the chance to have this presence and this elegance so long ago. But I'm glad
When she walked out and put my man's clothes on fire, though, and
yeah.
wait next to him.
They're waiting to excel. She went from that to a queen.
You know what I'm saying? We've come a long
She did
way.
that snap as she was
We've
walking
come a long
away
way.
when we all knew.
As a young girl, seeing that image, like, it's always stuck in my head, and I'm
Every
always
day.
like thinking to my partner, like, if you ever like those Jordans.
Not the J's. Not the
I
J's.
light a match, all right?
We can get a fire going real quick. I thought it was cold in here anyway.
Well, yeah, Angela Bassett is. I'm not trying to. That's like my crush. When she came on screen, I was with Michael B. Jordan. I said, "Hey, Auntie, yes." Let's talk about Michael B. Jordan. I know.
Let's talk about him.
So, what you got to say, Lex?
I have so many gifts already.
I identified with Eric Killmonger the most because when he came in and he said, "Hey, let's arm our impoverished people, our oppressed people, and let's share the wealth in Wakanda," I'm like, okay, well, let's do this. Oh, wait, he's a bad guy, but it took me a while to figure out why he was the bad guy. And plus he looked very good. I wish he wouldn't have covered up so much because he really was too conservative with his dress. But him being so woke and being so angry, because when you become woke, the first thing you do is become angry. That's the first thing you do. And I think there are phases to being woke. And somebody said it was like the 5 stages of grief the other day to me. But anyway, it took me a while to figure out why he was the enemy, because I'm like, wait, no, let him be the king. And it's because, they didn't want to mirror what the United States has done by arming our enemies and arming people that would soon become our enemies and taking, because we can go to impoverished people, we can go to oppressed people, but if they're not awake, if they're not socially conscious, if they're not woke, and they're still in a state of mind of slavery, and they're still slaves in their own mind, we can't help them until they recognize their own slavery, because there's so many people who are still slaves who are content in their slavery. So we can go give weapons and money to people, but if they're not socially conscious and they don't have a vision for what they're going to do with it. Anyway, I still like Eric.
He's my sweet son.
But he woke them up. He woke up Wakandans.
Well, but
I
wonder though, and part of it is I think about and I'm blanking on his father's name.
Njobu.
Which
Sterling K. Brown.
Sterling K. Brown.
No one told me he was going to be in there.
I know.
No one won.
I was like, oh shit, this is us.
And he was ghetto too.
Hide the straps.
Hide the straps. And the thing, I think he was the one who was woke. And he was the one saying, "I've been here. Look what we could do.
Right.
Look what." But I think the problem with Eric took it a step too far. And I'll give 2 examples. When he was talking about the burn it all, burn the hearts, because and I think it was we're waiting for the next king, and in his mind I think he's going, no, I am the king, there is no other. It's like no, that doesn't take it. Like you were saying, that kind of puts it into the United States giving weapons to everybody, etc. If he had stopped with, we can help, but it's not that we're going to now rise up, take over, and Wakanda is going to rule them all. And those empires, the sun's never going to set on the Wakandan empire. That's where I think he took it a step too far. But his father had the right idea. And T'Chaka, I think T'Challa was right when he said, "You're wrong. You were all wrong for doing this. We could have been helping these people all this time. Why not?"
And I love the idea of talking about Eric Killmonger's function of a villain. He is by far the best villain the Marvel Universe has ever had.
You're still you're asking the question.
Yes.
Is he the villain?
No, exactly. And he's one of the first villains that really fundamentally changed the hero's viewpoint on how they engage politically, on how they position their own like motive driver that is supposed to be seen as their ultimate good. That like for so much of the comics has been seen as kind of the function of that character. He is one of the first villains I've seen in a long time, and anything that comes through and changes that. And he's one of the best depictions I've seen of how trauma can warp someone's politics. And when you're talking about systems of oppression, there will inevitably be trauma. And there is something so sympathetic to the way he was painted, is that like his worldview is not fundamentally wrong. There are moments he takes it so far, and you can't really be too hard on him because he's been under this oppressive system so long. You can't expect him to get it right out the gate. And I feel like they portray that softly and with a lot of grace to him. And it was,
He's a beautiful character, not not just aesthetically.
in every aspect.
No, you're right.
In every aspect.
But I mean, like he's a character where you're just trying to figure out, is he the villain? Because and I have to ask this question because this is something that I when I watch Michael B. Jordan on the screen, and when he breaks down at the end and says it was a fairy tale, that's what broke me. Like, first of all, here's a spoiler for me. Last movie that made me cry was How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Don't fucking judge me. I love that part. When Kate Hudson comes down with the canary yellow necklace, I love that part. Made me cry. Whatever. I was in my feelings. Yeah, shut up. But that part because we as black people, we put this movie on such a high pedestal. I know we did. We couldn't help it. This was our Super Bowl. This was everything. And so Ryan Coogler just does a great job, the director, of sucking you into that universe. He has a very impossible task of world building Wakanda in a short amount of time. This is the Black Middle Earth. This is Black Hogwarts at its finest. And he builds this world, and you forget it's a fucking Marvel movie. And then Michael B. Jordan says it's a fairy tale. You're oh shit, and then you wake up and you're like, this is not real. And so then and by a show of hands, we're currently in Salt Lake City. Who's a transplant? I'm from Los Angeles, exactly. And so when I looked at Killmonger on screen, I remember what it was like. I miss home. Do you guys miss home?
Yeah.
And so that's all that boy is want. He's a kid that just wants to be amongst his culture, where he's not, where he doesn't forget that, where he forgets that he's black, where he's just a person. He's a person at a place, and so that's what, and we've dealt with so many frustrating things, and so you just can't help but empathize with them so much because you're so displaced from home, and he just wants to be home. So that's what I took from it. So what you guys think?
What I took from his character, and this kind of happened to me the very next day after this movie had Thursday night. I woke up Friday morning. There was a certain post of our own saying F Black Panther.
Oh, I saw that.
I've seen that.
So here's what it is. And then I look back at his character in that moment. I was thinking, that hurt right there is because y'all are my people, and y'all had me down here struggling this whole time. And y'all couldn't help me out. Y'all can help me. So my people watch this movie, and we still can't help each other out by even bigging it up. Like, what happened? That the fury that I felt the next morning reading that was almost the fury he had when he finally got there and he pulled his lip down and said, "I'm one of you. Y'all left me here. Y'all left me stranded." That kind of fury. I was like, why are we still doing this in this 2018? We find something that should be bigged up, no matter what the politics is, no matter who's got their hands in Hollywood, whatever. It's a step up. Let's celebrate the step up.
Yes.
Let's celebrate the step up. Don't try to get too woke. We can be too woke sometimes. Just celebrate the fact that we're making these steps to come to where we need to be.
Dr. Cornel West said, best you stay woke too long, you get insomnia.
Boom.
Well, you guys said your transplants, but the most emotional part for me, a Utah girl, was not what was on the screen, but what was in the theater. Because we took the black kids to the theater, and when you are a black child in Utah, and all you see is white faces, and you don't see black representation, you don't see black success, and just hearing those kids in there, and they were acting a fool, and I didn't care, and I was so happy for them to actually get to see a black movie about themselves where the love interest had the darkest skin, and the lead character, you know, was able to show emotion, and he was crying, and that's what made me cry in the theater, was hearing those kids and looking back, and I kept looking at the crowd, and you know, these black kids in Utah, they need this. We have to have more movies like this. We have to have a sequel and a third and more, and a woman, a black woman superhero.
They're on their way.
Can we get a Dora Milaje movie?
Yes.
And I'm not talking. I'm not talking Catwoman or nothing like that.
No. Give me Monica Rambeau.
We not talking about that Halle Berry Catwoman.
I never saw it.
The only thing in that movie was her haircut was on fleek. Her haircut was on fleek. I got that haircut after that movie.
All my cousins did.
I got that haircut after that movie. That's all I'm gonna say.
She gonna fall in love with Benjamin Bratt. Anyways, yeah.
So two things to kind of go back to what you were saying too about like going off of Killmonger. First of all, I cried like a baby when he died, just because like again, I don't think you weren't watching this movie deep enough if you didn't relate to Killmonger. You know what I mean? And like his whole thing for me, I guess what touched me is that we've always looked for something to connect to. We need to connect, and especially for black people, to our roots. That's what we strive for. That's what we dream about. That's what we think. So going back to what he's saying about a fantasy, like that is a fantasy. Like we need to be connected. That's what we need. And then to all the posts that I was seeing about people saying F this movie and all this stuff, I'm sorry, it's a pet peeve of mine. If you want to go to the movie theaters to be entertained, that's cool, but the director of this movie, he wouldn't have put that stuff in this movie if it wasn't important, and we needed to hear it now. So you need to watch this movie and look for those messages. You can still be entertained. I was entertained, but you go to the movies to look for what the director is saying. What are these messages? Think about it. See if you can even apply it to your life. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, at the end of the film, with the first cut scene where he basically says we need to build bridges.
Not barriers. Yes.
I mean, and that's the whole thing is that it shows the United Nations. Here's another thing that you know. If I kind of geeked out on the post credit scene. If you notice that UN building, they show all those different flags. Did you notice the Wales flag? A lot of people don't know this, but you know, there's the flag for Wales. They're not represented in the United Kingdom. So in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Ryan Coogler snuck that Wales flag in to show that independence from the United Kingdom is very important. So that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of layers in there. So like a lot of layers. You just have to look out. You're like, is that the Wales flag? Hell yeah, it is. And because they want to free them from the UK. So it's such a cool thing. And yes, we do need to build bridges. It's a movie about black people. But it's a movie for everybody because look at the times we're at right now.
Right.
I mean, we're midway through February and 18 school shootings? What? Of this year?
Yep.
That's fucking insane. Yep. So clearly we need to come together in some way, shape, or form. Go ahead, Jordan.
I think like kind of what you both were touching on what I think is a real core message of this movie, and I'm so glad that that's what they decided to tackle with this, is Africanness in relation to African Americanness, and how colonialism and slavery works with intra-blackness. And that was something I didn't see tackled early enough in the Black Panther comics, even though it was. And I'm glad they decided to start off with that right off the gate, because there are, in the history of Black Panther, so many sort of problematic elements of how it relates Africanness to African Americanness and doesn't really address some of those key issues, because even I, and I'm half Nigerian, have seen a lot of sort of, not the animosity, but a lack of understanding with African people to African American people, and a lot of the pain that comes with sort of that rejection from African American people. And that, I haven't seen media tackle that. I haven't seen media acknowledge that. I haven't seen that be a discussion other than vaguely alluded to in intra-Black circles. And to have someone saying this, it really centered Blackness in a way, because this movie said, this is a problem in our community. This is something we need to work through. This is something we need to have a dialogue about that. And people outside of this community might not see that. It might not have any resonance for them. It might not have any weight. But this is something that we need to talk about, and this is a dialogue that's important for us to come together.
Well, I felt it.
Yeah,
I felt it tremendously. And the fact that that's Killmonger is what my closest connection to this movie was, because you know, I saw the difference between Africans and African American. So I'm Pacific Island. I'm half Tongan and half white. I've never been fully accepted by my culture. Now I'm a first generation immigrant, and so the Tongan culture is a lot closer to the roots than the Black culture is, because we've only recently immigrated here. But when I see Killmonger, I see myself like someone I have the roots there, but not quite close enough to where I can be accepted. And I have a lot of criticisms of Tongan culture because I'm an outsider looking in. And if I was gonna go back there, I'd be like, man, you're doing this wrong. You're disrespecting women. Like, this is misogyny. Like, you could just change this and change this and change this. But people who have grown up in Tonga have a deep, loving respect for that culture and are not going to change it. And so I saw a lot of myself in him. And again, like, the best villains I feel like are the ones you agree with. Because
they don't know their villains.
Well, they don't know their villains.
I have to talk about some more of the villains because there's some great villains in this film. It's not just Killmonger. Andy Serkis as Claw was fucking insane. He was pure excitement every time he was on.
He was so happy.
Let me send you the SoundCloud link.
Yeah, he has a mixtape.
Oh my God, yes.
I do mean
Only villain with a mixtape. Let me send you my SoundCloud link. But Andy Serkis it was absolute chaos every time. He pulled out a gun in the middle of a casino and fired at Martin Freeman, who as Agent Ross, as a CIA agent, was a fantastic role. That everyone was fair represented. But the best villain, well, not besides Killmonger, and you don't even know he's there. Jabari or
M'Baku.
Who's yeah, we'll get to that part.
Manape.
Winston Duke, who's
he's so
great. Yeah, his villain name is Manape, which I'm glad that they omitted.
Yeah, please change that.
Yeah, but
you don't need to include
but
that.
yeah, a lot of people don't know that they snuck him into this movie, and he was just a great villain that you don't really know he's a villain, and he represents the poor blacks that's what I'm saying. It's not so it's Killmonger and M'Baka. They have so much in common because they're sitting there like, y'all, where the help us?
Right. Yeah, they're out there like, we are right here. Yeah. We are right here too.
Literally in your
exactly in your bubble.
And you have ignored us.
And Winston Duke, I have to give my nod to this man. I think this is his first film.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think this is his first film, and dude was just incredible. Every time he was on screen, he had some of the. His two lines are going to become, they're going to become gifts on Facebook.
Absolutely. They already are.
Because the little, you have no place to talk here.
Yes, white allies.
That reminds me of how Lex would tell stories about how they would go places and just sit there and just start chanting quietly, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. And so
Black Brunch.
Black Brunch, yes. But he has some great lines. There's times when I know, are you done?
Yes.
Are you done?
I love it.
You know, and so there's so many. But one of my favorite tweets is I tweeted this. I retweeted this from. This comes from Kibblesmith at Kibblesmith. He says, and this Kibblesmith, he's a writer, he's a comedian, and he. Hold on, let me just find this very quickly. Sorry, guys, I'm kind of over tweeting these days. Let's see. He says, Daniel Kibblesmith. He's a white guy. I felt extremely represented in Black Panther by the middle-aged white character who was excited to help out in small ways when appropriate. Yes. My favorite tweet. I love that because that's all it takes. It's not, and that's what I'm saying. It's not whether you're part of any movement, whether it be Black Lives Matter, supporting the Me Too, supporting the LGBTQIA movement. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, whatever. All it takes is a little bit of excitement, and you don't need to overtake everything. Just have that excitement when it's your time to call upon. Yeah, I got you. I got you on this. And so that's what I love about that entire poster. Everybody that's on there had something to do, and they did their job, and there's a message there in so many different ways. You know, Forrest Whitaker, he did his lazy eye.
Every time.
King T'Chaka.
He can die like nobody else, though, right?
True.
He dies like nobody else.
Yeah, we're gonna take a 5-minute break. We'll be right back. Should we leave the cams on? Yeah, might as well.
I gotta answer some questions, man. I've been a bad host. I'm getting all these questions and people talking and responding. I'm like, man, I can't say shit to you.
We're gonna set up. We're gonna start. For those that are watching, by the way, thank you guys so much for watching. This is cool. Like I never thought we'd be able to do something like this.
Hi, all the people.
And we're gonna start. So if you guys got questions, and we'll try and take care of them. Kari's kind of putting some stuff together, but thank you guys. Really, just watch. We're gonna answer some questions. We're gonna keep it light, but thank you for just rolling with us. So thank you.
Can I say something really quick?
Of course you can.
Because I think that everybody was making such a good point about Killmonger and his relationship to Wakanda. And one thing that I had wanted to say was that I think one of the most important things like about his character that we keep hearing in the movie is how he says like you left me, you know, and like which they did. I mean that sucks. They should not have left that baby, but you know I think that it speaks like volumes to a lot of how Black people in America feel about Africans, and that creates so much of the tension there because we really do feel like, you know, and then of course, you know, not to get too deep or whatever, because it's a whole other panel about, you know, this whole narrative that's continuously pushed about how like, you know, Africans sold us, like they're like your chief sold us, you know, and like that's like a whole other panel, but you know, when you grow up hearing that narrative and then also feeling such a deep like displacement, and then you see, you know, then you come into contact with people from the continent of Africa, you know, it does create a lot of tension because on one hand, like, yes, like so many African countries were colonized and there was like lots of atrocities there, but okay, let me be careful. Sometimes my grandma would be on my head like, okay, just pull it back. Right. I will say at times I feel a very deep resentment and a deep jealousy about people from African countries who do have, you know, regardless of, you know, colonization, regardless of oppression, they have a very real connection with their culture, and they have a real connection to their home. And for me and people like me and my neighbors and people I grew up with and my cousins, you know, we don't have that, you know? We're like, yeah, I'm from LA, you know. Yeah. Like my family came from the South at some point, you know, Great Migration, but.
And I even see that, like, being African, I see a lot of how not only that sort of like longing could exist, but also how like that feeling of resentment of like disclusion is very real. Because, for example, like I am the senior undersecretary of the Lightskins, but that does not bar me. It is true.
He said senior undersecretary. Said that.
Oh my God.
Said that.
Yep.
He said that.
He's more high yellow than us.
AJ walked
More
out.
high
I'm just
yellow.
gonna throw that disclaimer out there now, but that's still, my light-skinnedness does not bar me from accessing Africanness, and that is not ever seen as something that makes me less African to African people, and there is a whole situation there with colorism, which is another conversation, which affects that. But I have seen, even though like that could ostensibly be something to bar me from claiming an African identity, that isn't. But I have seen African Americans who discover that they're Nigerian or discover that they're like have roots in Africa. They are then sort of prevented from claiming that culture.
Right.
And there are nuances to that, and like things that have to do with growing up in it and how can you. There's barriers to how much you can understand it right off the bat, not having grown up in it, and what the nuances of that mean. But despite even those, I do see sort of a rejection of a claiming of identity to Africanness. And that's why, and it's something I've always seen, and something I couldn't name for a while, but when Eric Killmonger was presented on screen, a part of his anger, a part of what he was challenging was that.
Right.
And he was challenging a lot of people in my family who have expressed those same sentiments, who have expressed them to me about African Americans.
They're bringing food in here. But can I see what I saw? Can I say what I saw?
Of course you can.
I mean, my number one thing is Black unity.
Yeah.
That's why I started the United Front. And it doesn't matter what country you come from, in Africa or in the United States or Canada, Black people are not united.
Yeah.
We find a different way to divide ourselves every single day by
every
colors and by
Every time.
geography, sexual orientation, anything. We find a way to divide ourselves. But this is not a smooth transition. But you know, Ruth Carter, Black Lives Matter Utah brought Ruth Carter out here, the costume designer for Black Panther, and she better win an Oscar. And she did say, she said they sat her down in a room and said, okay, this is how we've always done things at Marvel. This is the costume. Here's the thing. And she said she wanted to cry, and she said, we're going to have to throw this in the garbage because we're not going to do things the way they've always been done.
Yes.
We're going to do them. We have to break the mold for Black Panther. And I felt like she tried to, because she brought the traditional garb of so many tribes from Africa, and she tried so hard to unite everyone. And she said that what she found in common in between all of the tribes was that every tribe had diamonds in their traditional garb. And so every single costume had diamonds incorporated. And if you look very carefully at Black Panther's costume, it is made out of diamonds. And so, you know, I think she tried to create Black unity, and that was the most beautiful part of the film, was when he was being made the king, and every tribe came out to support him. Every single tribe, except for the one tribe.
You see this like sort of fictionalized Africanness. But even like from all of my African friends who were from different countries, or a family or from different countries, there was something that we like all kind of came to a consensus of, is they displays a fictionalized Africanness that didn't feel cheapening, that didn't feel like African cultures or African garb is a trope that you can throw around. It didn't feel careless. It felt intentional. It felt respectful. It felt like a repurposing and a mythologizing. And that is how you do Pan-Africanism. She studied, she got her references, she applied them in very intentional ways, and she knew what she was doing. And the level of care, the level of research that takes to make everyone feel seen and acknowledged, and like you got a little shout out to without feeling like you were cheapened in any way. She deserves a fucking
And
Oscar.
she was so humble. She was so humble about it, and she didn't think she was special or anything. And we're just like, you're gonna get the Oscar this time. She was nominated before. She's the one that did the costumes for Malcolm X
And Black Dynamite.
And Black
Dynamite. I watched it last night. It's one of my favorite movies. I threw that shit before I walked into the room.
Black Dynamite.
and Selma. And Selma.
And
So
Selma.
yeah.
One thing also that I'd like to go and point out with Ruth Carter, that because she has such a deep understanding not only of the African culture but what it means to us. You know, when we look back at what she has done before, her portfolio extends back to Amistad.
Yes.
And that's one of the first things that she had actually worked on there. But as far as Black Panther is concerned, you know, like I said, costuming is something where it's very near and dear to my heart, and mainly more as a cosplayer, less as a costume designer. But it's something where inside that movie, no two costumes are identical.
Yeah.
And that is something that a lot of costume designers will immediately go, okay, well, how can I reduce part of the budget? Well, I will start copying this and I'll do that. Every single one of those costumes was exactly unique in every shape and form. It portrayed its own personality. So that way, you know, when you're looking at everything, you tend to kind of think about, okay, well, you know, if you look at visuals such as Lord of the Rings, everything is dark. So thus, you want to start thinking, okay, well, it's dark, it's drab, it's metallic, there's all these different things. But when you look at Wakanda and you look at that, how everything was portrayed. One big thing is when we were talking about the set pieces, realize that everything was light. And it wasn't the fact that it was light, but also you see with some of these fantastical things where you'll notice blurs right around the edges and whatnot. No, everything was clearly defined. It was light. There was hardly any darkness to that. And thus the actual costumes went in line with that. She took such care not only to get things as far as culture and as far as representation right, she took it even farther with selections of the costumes. And also the fact that, you know, one thing that we love pointing out, especially in cosplay, is that everything has to have its own function. So when we're thinking of, you know, just the last battle scene, every bit of the costume had a function, whether it was a weapon, whether it was a shield, everything was used. There was no textile that was left unused. That was
And just,
Damn, she needs to win that Oscar.
And again, just looking at his suit, the detailing in that suit, it's too
Well,
much.
all right. Well, here's a question. So, who y'all cosplaying? I mean, you guys are resident cosplayers.
Okay.
Killmonger. Gender bent Killmonger.
Yes.
Do it.
I gotta do a gender bent Killmonger, and I gotta be Miss Beautiful Ramonda Angela Bassett. Be elegant queen. Bow, please. Thank you.
That's right. For myself, I made a post about it. I think like 4 or 5 days ago. I worked on a Black Panther costume in 2013 when there was no movie being talked about, you know, and put it down primarily because of a lot of hate speech that was going on. But now, I made a post not too long ago that I wasn't going to cosplay Black Panther and that I wasn't going to be doing Lando Calrissian. But the person that spoke to me the most was Shuri. Yes. And I want to do a gender bend Shuri.
Gender bend over here.
I'm so excited for both of them.
I will get you into it. I will help you. I will help you.
I haven't cosplayed in a while, and it's been a few years. Like the biggest one that I did was Falcon. We had the functional wings. Yeah, I had the that shit is still. I still have the wings. A lot of people ask me if I still have the wings, but I'm thinking about doing M'Baka or Killmonger because those are just one of my. Those are just I mean, just Killmonger's character. It's just amazing. And a lot of people. Here's the backstory on Killmonger. A lot of people think in the comics in the original, Killmonger's from Harlem, Notice they moved the location to Oakland.
Yes.
What is the significance of Oakland to Black Panther? Somebody shouted out.
Oh, the Black Panther party.
Huey P, baby.
It's where it's
That's
right.
fire in the
Where the
founders,
Black
baby.
Panther
That's
party
where it
was
started.
and
That's
to
where
let
it
every
started.
and that's why I said this character is so Black Panther's just. He's cooler than Batman. Sorry.
Yep.
Sorry.
Hell yeah.
He's richer than Iron Man.
Yes.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Okay.
And I love me some
He's stronger than
Target.
Captain America. Sorry, not sorry. And I'm telling you right now,
He's
this
more mentally stable than
yeah,
Batman.
more mentally, way more mentally stable than Batman.
Chadwick
Oh, yeah.
Boseman's performance.
He's
Oh
so
my
good.
He's standing talking about him.
He played T'Challa the way that I wish Aquaman was played in the
Oh.
Like,
Oh.
he just held himself as a king. He was
Yeah.
regal everywhere he walked.
True.
And
Every
his voice
moment,
like Sweet
the way
Velvet.
he talked.
Even
he
when
was a
he's
sweet-
challenged,
Love.
even when he's
Man.
challenged,
He was a king.
he's never upset that he's
Yeah.
been challenged. He's like, okay, I guess like it's your
Yeah.
right or whatever.
And I saw
Go off.
T'Challa on the screen. I was like, I just wish Jason Momoa would have played Aquaman like a
But
king,
you know,
like this.
He has his,
Did
Yeah.
Aquaman
Sorry.
already come out?
Aquaman comes out later this year.
Oh.
Yeah.
But he was in Justice League. Really, I want to know who the barbers were.
Right.
Because like Wabaki, Daniel
Yeah.
Kaluuya.
Can you imagine what kind of barber technology Shuri has made? That is my first.
She's like anything you want.
You type that joint in.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
We got lasers for
Walk
that.
through.
We got lasers for that.
that haircut was an interesting.
And Chadwick
Wakanda Waltz.
You know,
Wakanda barbers are the best in the world.
one thing I did like, and this is something that like I've always been self-conscious about. I got a widow's peak. And Chadwick Boseman rocked the widow's peak.
Yeah.
He don't give a
entire
shit.
damn movie. I was like, holy shit.
It was fun.
And then I
That
didn't-
was power. That was
Yeah.
a powerful
That was
piece.
power.
So I was like, yo, I might have to start rocking this. Yo, leave that there, please.
Speaking of the importance of hair, like the fact that the
Natural.
Yes. All
Make me
natural.
take this off.
Bantina,
Yes.
Angela
Yes.
Bassett's
bald
white
head,
locks.
she was like, I have to wear this ridiculous
Yes.
wig, and the first thing
Her
she did was
throwing
she did it wig
her
up.
wig.
When she
Yep.
was like, it's time to get to business. Like, let me.
She was like, this way go.
Well, that was.
So I have a question about the hair fashion, because so much of our fashion in just American culture in general kind of reflects what we see in the media. Do you see more like natural hair coming like?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Have you watched a yogurt or cell phone commercial recently?
That is so
They
true.
always got a natural black hair girl.
They do, of course.
But from this movie, do you see like a much bigger?
I see a lot of more bald head pride.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not even like like natural, but so much more bald head.
I know so
pride
many
because-
women that want to shave their heads now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Just
absolutely.
over the weekend, they're like, I'm gonna shave my head.
There was a
Oh,
tweet,
tonight
a woman
could be
that's fighting
gotta
cancer
say it
right
with your
now.
heart.
Black woman that's fighting cancer, and she was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
She just went through chemo, and she was like, yeah, I'm proud to have no hair. Like after seeing that movie, so I mean, it's just dope. It's just dope,
Beautiful
though.
adornment, like the painting.
Now,
And I love the
Sorry.
functional
Hold on, hold on.
hairstyles. The fact that like Lupita had just those like
Yes.
tiny
Bantu,
puffs on that.
Bantu
She was
knots.
like, this is a
Bantu.
woman that has to fight when she has to.
Yes.
And
she
you know,
ain't gonna be
bantu
worried.
knots are a good functional hairstyle.
But then she let him out.
She
Yeah.
let
Yeah.
her
Let her
out.
out with that
She's
dope
like,
dress she had on.
so just whip it back and
Yeah.
forth.
Well, that's what I was going to. Because one of the things that was interesting there was thinking back to Whoopi Goldberg.
Yes.
And her when she did that one woman show,
Oh, yeah.
and one of her characters, she put on the towel and was flipping her hair, and that's what that's all I thought about is how many black women I've known over my lifetime that have talked about having to, it's like, oh, when they were a little girl, I wish I could have had my hair that long and just whipped it back and forth. So when she said that, I was just like, yep, I know so many people who are going to resonate just with that line alone. Yeah.
It's you guys keep bringing up Lupita Nyong'o and
She's perfection.
Oh yeah.
Deny.
Good.
Yes, I do want to talk. And this is a question I more so kind of aimed at you, Damar,
Yes, yes.
as a retired veteran. There's, if you notice the scene after T'Challa's dead,
Yeah.
Nakia and Okoye. Nakia is a spy. Okoye is a general, and so I know they're like, and I'm help me with this question, but basically how black people are constantly connected to the military. Even Killmonger had to get to the go to the military, and how I guess the question I'm trying to ask is just more. What you being a veteran, what did that make you feel as far as do you feel that sometimes we're almost exploited so much by the government or the military?
It's the whole slave mentality, man. When you think about the military, that's what it basically is. You're told when to wake up. You're told when to go to sleep. You're told to do all these things, and there's a hierarchy. You can only go as far as your superior. You can never try to reach to go as far as him. Because then there's always another tier that you have to fight for. So when it comes down to military standpoint, I think we try to, as a power, we see that as it's an ultimate gang. Like when she refused, he's like, I have to. He's the new king now. I can't go nowhere. I can't go nowhere. Right. Trump, I work for the military. As much as I just want to be like, you know what, I'm done. I can't. Unfortunately, he's the new leader now. So I have to do what is being told to be done by someone that I don't really necessarily agree with, but this is where we are. This is what we have to do right now. Hopefully it passes. Hopefully we survive this, but this is where we are. Yeah. And we have to sometimes bow down to that. And if you look at everything, like even the Black Panthers, they were militant. Everybody, the military, that has a strong thing to it. It's a military, it's a core of unity. It's a core of respect for your elders. It's a core for all that. They're panels. We have panels to see who can get the next rank. Yeah. All these things is like boards, everything boards. You have to challenge the next person to see if you can be the next level. So all this stuff had a military feel, and I think a lot of it came from military to try to tell you that that's the structure that needs to be here, and the slavery aspect.
It was very interesting because it was what I loved watching Okoye's character, as she is a member of the military. For those who don't know, I'm a member of the military. I'm going on 15 years of service, and we pledge allegiance to a flag. And we pledge allegiance to our country, but does our country pledge allegiance to us? Which, as a military member, I was jealous of Okoye and her loyalty to country, because I know that because deep down she knows her country has her back, and that was like just such a, you know what I mean? Like like when she says for Wakanda without question. Yeah, yes. I mean, like damn. Yes.
Yeah. Even though her new leader literally is trying to destroy the future. Yeah. Yes. Burn it all. Yep. In the midst of everything, she's still riding with that cat.
And so it was just that's one of the that's why I said there's so many just layers to this to film, and there's the Marvel movies are really stepping up. A lot of people, yes, I'm gonna briefly mention this movie, Thor Ragnarok. Yes. And when I saw that movie in the theater, it's such a fun movie, but there's a lot of there's a little correlation I made that helped me come together with Thor Ragnarok. Spoiler alert for Thor Ragnarok. So, you never seen Thor Ragnarok? He's fighting Surtur. He's the guy who's going to cause Ragnarok. And then the other main villain is Hela, Kate Blanchett. She looks amazing in the movie. She's awesome. She's a badass right out the gate. She's kicking ass. She busts up Thor's hammer. Says, "You ain't shit. I'm your big sister. Fuck you."
Destroyed his whole army. No shit.
And so, right?
Not playing around?
No, she is not fucking around. Day one, she comes in and starts fucking shit up, okay? And so, but constantly they said throughout this movie, and Idris Elba as Heimdall said it best. He says, Asgard is not a place, or it's a people. It's a people. And so what happens for Ragnarok to happen, the big orange guy named Surtur, the big orange guy goes against the lady who's basically the devil in pantsuits. Does anybody see a correlation here? Donald, Hillary, possibly? They have to go toe to toe, burn it all down, start over so that we can start anew. America, then take out the word Asgard, replace it with America. America is a people, not a place. And so that, and also in that movie, Thor Ragnarok, they recognize the sins of the father. Because Odin was the one that fucked everything up. The same thing with Black Panther.
Yes.
Same thing.
It's the
Father.
sins of the fathers, and fatherhood is such a big important thing. And so that's why that's what I'm talking about. That's why I see the correlation in Thor Ragnarok and Black Panther, how they talk about the sins of the father, how we need to start over, reset the mindset. Go ahead, Dr.
Well,
White.
think about it, because Killmonger says the burn it all. One of the things that Nakia is challenging T'Challa when they're walking through the city and saying, "We can do this. We can," and he's like, "No, it will change our way of life." And she goes, "We're stronger than this. We can help the world and still be us."
Yes.
Nakia said it first.
Yes.
But you know what? And another great thing about Chadwick Boseman playing T'Challa, how often? Very soft-spoken man. He only yelled one time in this movie, and the only time he actually yelled, well, actually twice. I did not yield. That was the second time. The first time he yelled, "I am I am King T'Challa." King of Wakanda, during the challenge day.
Challenge day.
Which also I thought.
Actually, there's a third. Sorry.
What?
Remember when he's talking to Zuri, and Zuri's like, "I'm not going to say anything. I promise my king. I am your king."
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. He's a man who doesn't have to yell all the time, and he gets shit done in a way that's just
soft power.
Yeah, it's soft. Yeah, it's soft
Regal.
power.
Yeah.
He's regal. So, and it's just like I feel like we all need to reflect that in the same way. I'm gonna shift gears. I do want to talk about. I got two more things, and then we'll just kind of take some questions. And I'm sorry because this. We could do this all day, but I gotta make sure we hit these notes. Now, Ashley was bringing up earlier about how, first of all, no one is getting attacked at theaters. Go see this movie.
Ain't nobody been attacked.
There is fake news all over. There were people that are tweeting out photos saying I got attacked, and so the best part is, and I love Black Twitter. Black Twitter never sleeps.
Black Twitter comes through so quick, like thunder in the night.
Black Twitter is Heimdall and Sauron. They see it all. They see it all.
You are not getting away with shit.
You're not getting away. They see it all. They immediately say, "Okay, that's your picture of you getting assaulted. The blood on a paper towel." This young lady, she's typed in on a Google search, Google image search, blood on paper towel. First image that pops up was that shit that this person tried to do. Fake news, I'm telling you. So people go see this movie. Nobody's getting attacked. The best thing that I've seen about this movie is, and what people are doing in this in the Black community, is registering voters at the screenings.
And that's new. I didn't even know that.
People are going to these movies, waiting in line. While they're waiting in line, register to vote. Register to vote. Register to vote. Register to vote. Because that's so important. I mean, yes, this is great. All right, cool. We saw a great movie. This is dope. Now what? You want that? Vote.
Yes.
Make some. You want to see what you want something close to that.
Yes.
I want some sneakers.
Yeah. Sneakers. I'm not trying to keep the other races out.
Yeah.
I'm almost like Muhammad Ali. I will show you how great I am. Come see. Come see this excellence. Come see this beauty. Y'all have only seen us like this or like this. Come see us. Now see us like this or like this. You know what I'm saying? Come see it. We ain't trying to beat you up. We want you to see this comfortably.
Yeah.
We want you to see this
what Wakanda should have
comfortably.
done all along.
Exactly.
Just invite all of Africa.
Yeah.
Boom. All of it. Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's such a. It's not necessarily a frustrating movie to watch, but because you're like, well, shit. Now what? Like, I mean, because I understand why you close those doors.
Right.
But you had like
Survival.
It's survival because
And white
we've
people
taken
don't know how to act.
we've been taken from our homeland, and it's just like you can't help but feel. But you at the same time,
It's
we're trying to.
It's a double-edged
It's a-
sword.
yeah,
And
it's
that's
just like
exactly
what
what I said in like
Yeah.
Salt Lake Tribune when we were interviewed with it. Like, I know I'm a king and a queen on this side, but I'm also an outsider. I know who I am. Do I share this with everyone, or do I keep it to myself where I know I'm safe and I know this is mine?
Right.
Like, I don't know what to do.
And even when I saw and felt that Nakia and Eric were right, there was still such a fear that ran so deep about because I don't trust whiteness.
Yes.
When they open up their walls, I don't. I feel confident in their ability to ward off threat. I love what they could do if they bring it out, but at the end of the day, I don't trust whiteness, and I get that protective instinct. Like if you have something so good, it is scary to open that up, Tom. Even to benefit your own people, even though it's the right thing, I get that fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't. It's a lot. That's what I said. It's a lot of emotions, and you walk out, you're like, I was like. Anyway.
Well, because you think about it, there was this kind of image of they're hiding in plain sight.
Yeah.
And what popped in my head when that was kind of going through was thinking, and it's been a couple of decades since I've read this, Ralph Ellison.
Yes.
Invisible Man.
Invisible Man.
They were just walking through the world, and there was not, that's Wakanda.
And it's that thing of like, and this something else someone mentioned made me think of this too, which has to do with kind of like white adjacency, and that the hiding in plain sight thing made me think of that a lot, and is where that analogy really struck home for me, because there's something about them being veiled and hiding in one sight that is like people who aren't woke or align themselves with whiteness who are Black, so they don't have to, in their minds, feel the most visceral effects of colonialism or racism. And there are analogs to that with not wanting to get involved, not wanting to start a fuss. And that throws back into if you aren't engaging politically, if you aren't doing the work, then you're kind of just tacitly approving of the traumas inflicted on other people.
Thank you.
And that's another point where Killmonger's point really spoke home, is you can't really profess any of these values really strongly if you're shielding yourself from repercussions while other people of your people are out here without that ability to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Amen.
Because that's one of there's two. The speech, the UN speech, which I've got to try to get that memorized. The question that comes up at the end: What can you farmers, you backwards people, show up? And I just to me,
provide for us.
When it goes through and shows each person, even Everett Ross, and the smiles on their face, and then you end with Chadwick's smile, and just like, because you think about how many times as a Black person or a woman or LGBTQI or anything, it's like, what can you give us? What are you doing? We're up here. What you're thinking you're going to help us?
Right.
That kind of, and again, I go back to that. Who are you? Kind of to me, that's a challenge question of who are you in this life? Who are you? What are you doing? Who are you?
Wow.
Just
wow.
Sorry. I was just gonna say, like, I love that because first of all, you have to identify individually like who you are, but then also going back to Black unity, we are together as a people.
Yes.
We know who we are as a people, and this kind of for me connected back with Killmonger because I don't want to cry.
Cry.
We're here.
The space, cry on.
Like, I guess another connection for me, what I saw in this movie was son to father relationships.
Yes.
And I never really I have no connection with my dad.
Right.
And so like I said, going back to being connected to something, finding a family, finding home, your roots, like it was just too much for me. And so I do think that we as a people need to start, us as Black people, yes, unity, but then going back to like what Jay was saying, we all need to just start like being open-minded, be woke, but don't get insomnia, but help out in little ways. Start by getting rid of these damn stereotypes against me and just see me as an individual and acknowledge my culture and who I am.
Lex?
Say about crying. I didn't cry a lot during Black Panther, but I cannot make it through Annie without crying. With Govanjane, I can't. And someone online was talking about how Chadwick cried in the movie, or Black Panther cried, and it wasn't stigmatized as overly feminine there. But yeah, I can't watch Annie without crying at all. Like I just bawl my head off because when I was a little girl, we had a little white Annie, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
It's just that moment. And like kind of there's something there too in terms of getting to be yourself while also being part of a people. And like what I really want to touch on a lot more is the Black women in this movie. And like we alluded to before, they all get to be their own people. They all get to have their own motivations. They all love their country in different ways, and that means different things for them. And none of them align to a stereotype.
Yeah.
They are all fully fleshed out people that exist. And I think that's so important. But I also noticed T'Challa is not sort of the most dominant figure in this movie.
Right.
I feel like the 6 main characters, him, Killmonger, Nakia Adoye, Shuri, and Ramona, all have pretty equal screen time.
Yeah.
And it meant so much to see that. It meant so much for my family to see that, to see in this way that sort of entails of blackness. Black men are often centered. These women hold the stage, and in numbers sort of dominate the stage. And he is king, but he can't do anything without these people and also with these women. And also they have their own narratives that are separate.
Exactly.
And that's the most important part. Like Nakia has her own narrative that exists outside of him, and she acts through agency outside of him. And they don't agree with him, and they get to be people.
Yeah.
And my cousin texted me afterwards, and she's like, "This is the only movie I felt that I could be a person in."
Right.
And I think we underestimate how rare that image is portrayed within even Black cinema. And yeah, I really want to name that.
Real quick, and Lex, and then we got to take time for questions. But go ahead, Lex.
Well, about the stereotypes, what I really liked is that they kept the Spears, and they didn't practice respectability politics, and they kept the Black slang, because I feel like Black people are so concerned about not falling into the box of a white stereotype. But why do we care how they stereotype us? Why can't we be proud of being Black how we want to be Black? And they kept the Spears, and they kept everything, and they kept their Blackness, and they defined their own Blackness,
and they just said it's not a joke.
I love it. I love it. They kept their Blackness.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'll go really quickly. I know.
quick.
I'm sorry. Well, just because this part was really, to me, it was the whole movie, the whole experience was the centering of Black women. And one thing that I really love, especially when you put it in juxtaposition to a movie which is still great and wonderful and profound, but Fences, right? Where we have all of these narratives about Black women, and this is gonna make me cry, because we have all of these narratives about Black women who just lay themselves on the ground for their men, for their children, for their communities, for their families. And the Wakandan warriors, they did that in such a different but powerful way. And then also, as a Black woman in this world, especially in a predominantly white state and city, I feel like I'm often challenged to be able to sorry, I'm trying to go fast. So. I'm often having to beg for my time. I'm having to beg to be let into these spaces. I'm having to beg for a seat at the table, or to prove myself that I'm worthy to have this seat at the table. I'm worthy of, my salary. I'm worthy of all of these things. And so one of the smallest things, but one of the greatest things to me is at the beginning of the movie, when we see in Oakland, when we see, Killmonger's dad, and then the young, sorry, my brain. I tried so hard
Yes,
to
this is James.
Yeah, James, yes. And, they knock on the door, and he's like, there's these two, what did he say?
Grace Jones.
Which was also great.
I love that nod.
the freaking line. Like they won't,
Knock
they will
again.
not knock again.
Yes.
Like if you would have seen me in the theater, even Brandon, who's my partner, was looking at me like, "What the hell?" Because I was like, "I'm sick of knocking." Like, you know, like
That is just a mantra throughout life.
so I won't.
And an
knock
aspiration.
again.
I told you once.
I told you once.
Uh-huh.
I told you once. Like if I have to bust this door down and kill everybody, like not.
I
like,
will not beg for
literally.
access.
Not literally.
Exactly.
I have to like make that.
What I'm not gonna
Not
do.
literally, but I mean, I'm saying like I will fuck your world up because I'm sick of knocking.
And I will not beg for access.
Right, I won't beg for access.
Jay, my husband read something you wrote on Facebook the day after you watched it, and he goes, "Hey, are you seeing what Jay's doing online right now?" I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "He posted a Black Panther is great," and some white girl posted, "I heard it wasn't very good," and Jay said, "Fuck what you heard."
Go see it yourself. No, she said,
Go see it yourself.
She
Yeah.
said, I
Go
heard
see
it
it
wasn't
yourself.
good. And I was like, well, that's a great opinion coming from someone who's never seen the fucking movie. Seeing is believing. Fuck what you heard. All right, I got to get some questions because like we're basically running out of time. And thank you so much, Kari, for letting us use this space.
Thank you,
But
Kari. Love you.
All right, first question. Do you think Killmonger is really dead?
No.
No.
I just don't want him to be.
Yeah, same.
Okay, I feel like if we're gonna see him again, I'm thinking it's gonna be in the astral plane, like where the ancestors. I think that might be a point where we can see him.
He got into the ancestral plane.
I know,
My
right?
baby in that plane.
Or they're gonna figure out a way. Sherry's gonna figure out a way to bring him back.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now. In these comics,
And that's comics right there.
in this story, he is resurrected.
Yeah, that's
Just like they
Killmonger has
resurrected
been
the king.
resurrected. So
They resurrected the king.
they
He was
do have
gone.
like kind of like a Lazarus pit in the Golden City in Wakanda. So that's just food for thought. I think honestly they're gonna do something with him.
But that was a great line.
Oh, that was a
The great line.
I'd rather die.
Bury me in the ocean because my ancestors knew it was better to die than to live in bondage.
Hello.
I like his
Message.
message. I like his outfit
I took it off.
and I like
I know. I don't need to.
Killmonger's a villain. You know, he took over the Black Panther mantle, but a lot of people don't. The little subtle things that they did with his costume that Ruth Carter did. In the comics, he's referred to as the Golden Jaguar. Did you notice
Yes,
that?
it is golden.
So like I love that. Let's see. Do you think Wakandans will bless Bucky with the vibranium arm?
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course he is.
It's right there.
Right. I mean, you already brought him in. Right. With
And Shuri likes a challenge.
Like, they literally gonna hook you up.
Right.
Okay.
And White Wolf is not a one-armed villain.
Yeah.
He has two arms.
I love
So
how excited she was.
We gonna hook you up, bro.
Yeah.
Don't even worry about it.
That like
We gonna pimp out your arms.
Pimp out his arm. There we go. When thinking about this film and Get Out and TV shows like Blackish, Insecure, which I love, and Atlanta, which I love,
I love it.
are we in the golden age of black media?
No, that would be the
think that was the
90s
90s.
or
Yeah.
200.
I think that was
Martin, different world.
Living single.
My cousin hanging with Mr. Cooper, but
Oh my God.
I think the only difference now is we're being seen as in power.
Yeah.
We're being
I
seen
think we are
as
in a
important.
golden age.
Yes.
Like we're seeing
A
important.
golden
Even
age.
Insecure, they're showing a woman who is controlling things, and they show her friends who are lawyers and all these and teachers
And they get
and
to
all
be
these kind of
messy and be
stuff.
people.
And they can be messy, be
That's
people,
what I
and
love.
still
Exactly.
control their environment at the same
Which-
point. So I
which
think
I-
that's a little bit different than the '90s. '90s made you feel good because
Right.
it made you
It was
smile
true.
and happy.
The 90s,
And it was true.
It was
Although
true.
Living Single was like
Thank
a
you.
great.
I love me some.
Oh,
True.
yes.
True.
Oh,
Yes.
True.
I'm watching that on Hulu right now.
Yes.
But like, I love that you said that because I think that's truth. And now we are in an age where, like Jay had posted, and I know a lot of other people posted, like we're tired of seeing ourselves as criminals, as ghetto, as poor, as a. Now it's the
daywalking
time.
vampires.
Now it's the time to be viewed as empowered.
Something else.
Yes.
Yes.
I love
Something
that.
else.
As an outsider looking in, I remember Martin and all the sitcoms from the 90s.
Yes,
It was a sitcom.
sitcom.
Now
Exactly.
I look at Black Panther like it's being taken seriously.
Yeah.
Now you have heroes.
Now we have heroes.
Now we have heroes.
Boom.
Could you imagine being Daniel Kaye right now? Last year, his movie Get Out. This year, Black Panther. It's almost like, okay, what are you doing next February, sir?
Even though he was whack in Black Panther, but.
Yeah, no, he sold everybody out. Like, I was like, dude.
I'm like, how you gonna use your rhino? Like,
Why you snitching?
I was like, this shit is not necessary. This is overkill.
It's not necessary.
I can't blame the brother too much, man. He saw Killmonger bring the dude that the king couldn't kill.
But the thing is, that wasn't for lack of trying. The thing that upset me about that whole interaction between T'Challa and him was that he was like, "You're just like your father. You didn't do anything." And I'm like, "Well, first of all, his
I
father
didn't know nothing
never
about
tried."
that.
That's real narrative. That is real narrative.
It's so hard for me.
Yeah. But it was his first fucking gay is gay.
I'm like, that's really because he did do something. Like he did do something, but you just, I mean, like, where was your ass then? You should have went on the mission too.
Every time black people try to do something.
What's up, Jordan?
Always somebody down talking.
But no, like
us.
circling back to the topic of like, is this the or a golden age of black cinema? I think it really is, because we are not only seeing like blackness told in different ways, but we're seeing different people included in it.
Yes.
We're seeing a centering of black women's stories, a centering of dark-skinned black women's stories, and an inclusion of queer black stories in a way that even when I go back to 90s shows that I loved, that formed me, that mean a lot to me, I wasn't in any of those. I didn't have a place in them. They showed particular kinds of blackness, but now I feel like blackness is being acknowledged in all of its different forms. And it's a more nuanced story to tell, and we have people telling it well.
And to go off that, Jordan, how do I say this name again?
Ta-Nehisi
Coates. This story right here. In this one I hold, one of the members of the
Dora Milaje, who's played by Foreign Consumer, and if she's not gay,
her name is Ayo. And she Ayo is with
my lesbian queen.
Yeah, she's a lesbian with she has a relationship with Anika.
Yep.
And read about that. So that's what I'm saying. This story I recommend if you're looking for a jump off point. This is. If you combine these two, you basically get the movie.
Yeah.
You know, they borrow certain parts, and so last but not least, I gotta ask everyone's favorite track on the soundtrack. Favorite track. Go around the room. Go around the room. If you had a chance to listen to the soundtrack, if you haven't, then make sure you check it out.
Are you on 10 yet?
Are you on 10? Fuck the place up.
Fuck the place up. That one just, as soon as I heard that, I was like,
oh my God.
I put that on repeat. I couldn't even listen to the rest of the album.
is so hard.
I thought it. I'm so ignorant. I thought it was called "Run the Jewels," and then someone said that's the name of the band. So I have no idea.
No, Run the Jewels is on the trailer, but they should have, in my opinion, they should have been on the soundtrack. But there's so many great songs on the soundtrack, and if you actually watch the movie and then go back and listen to the soundtrack, it's damn near chronological.
Oh
really?
Pretty much.
King's Dead, Big Shot, and I think I think this is my theory.
Big Shot's my favorite.
Big Shot is one of those songs because it's if you listen to Kendrick's lyrics, Big Shot, why you emotional? Why you so emotional? You know who he's talking to? The people that are so emotional about this film that are against him.
Right.
He says, why you so emotional? And so there's so many different layers. All the stars. Redemption is where basically
that's my song.
what Baki bows to Okoye. I mean, it's right there. King's Dead. All Hell King Killmonger. I mean, it's a whole story. There's a lot of different songs. Kiki, go ahead.
So yeah, Redemption is my favorite just because I love just like that dance hall feel. It just gets me them drums every time.
That's great.
But yeah, Kendrick is genius on this album. And after watching the movie, I go back and I listen to the soundtrack, and the soundtrack's never left my stereo.
It's truth.
He also like purposely if you listen to it from beginning to end, the first few songs is I Am T'Challa first, and that all sets there, and then the next one I Am Killmonger, and then it's all there, and then the last track he says I am T'Challa, I am Killmonger, one world, one family, one God, like that. You are both. You are a queen, and yes, I was like, woo, me a drink.
Because
You are the king and you are the insurgent.
exactly,
Yes,
and that's
yes.
and the reason. I have to quote James Baldwin. I said this to Lex when I saw this movie. I said James Baldwin's quote is to me, they just took a James Baldwin quote and made it a movie. With Killmonger and Black Panther, it says, "To be a Negro in this country is to be socially conscious and in a constant rage almost all the time." And that's what Killmonger is, and that is what T'Challa is. Socially conscious, constant rage.
Yeah.
And so,
I love it.
The two sides of blackness.
guys, girls, everybody, I know, but this has been such a great time. I genuinely appreciate you guys stepping up and taking time out of your busy days. JD, thank you for video. Tom and Anna, thank you so much for sound.
Thank you, Kari.
Thank you, Kari, for building. Thank you,
love
Kat.
you.
Thank you, Alicia, just for being here and helping out. Tui, thank you for drinks. Jordan, thank you for your insight. I haven't had a chance to really sit down and talk to you.
Deep.
Yeah, bro.
You need to write a book, bro.
Yeah.
You need to put a book together.
I mean,
that's real.
Kiki, thank you so much for your perspective. Stefan, thank you so much for like this kind of all started with a mild dialogue between him and I.
That's
and
crazy.
we were gonna share an episode, and then Tui happened to hit me
Well,
up.
I was talking to Ashley because she was telling me, and I was like, "Hey, I have this really good idea." And I hit up Jay like, "Hey, Jay, I have this really good idea." And like, "Oh, you're already gonna do it."
And this is what came of it. And I quote Black Dynamite, my other favorite superhero. Ain't nothing black folks can do when they put their minds together.
I love that film. When he's like, I said scram turkey. That's my favorite part.
So yes, but right now we got to scram. Lex, thank you so much. Ashley, thank you so much. Damar, anything? Final thoughts? Anything?
See the movie a million
Go,
times.
yes.
Let's do it again. Let's hang out again.
Yeah.
A wrinkle in time.
Yes. You guys are all my new best friends now.
Absolutely.
And do go see the movie next weekend. This coming
that's
weekend.
important.
Don't let the drop off be too much.
Vote
or
with your
else,
dollars. Vote with
your dollars.
Tell everybody that we want more of these kinds of movies.
Yes.
Because that's how this works.
Yeah,
You
guess
gotta-
what?
you gotta
Guess
vote
what?
with
You
this-
put black people in films, we'll go see it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, the
Black
world needs
dollars
to know that we
matter.
want more of these
Like,
movies, so go watch this
in good
movie
roles.
as much as you can.
Yes.
I think
Buy tickets to the movie. Don't sneak in.
like
Buy
it.
tickets to the movie.
Yes.
Let
Like
them
it.
know you want it.
And if I catch a brother bootlegging this movie,
Already posted.
it's happening
On site.
I'm gonna find you.
So-
My follow-up is give us a Storm movie.
Yes.
Give me my dark-skinned Storm that we need.
Yeah.
For the love of
And
God.
she needs to get with T'Challa.
Exactly.
Well, now we'll
Exactly.
see now that Marvel and Fox are now
That
happy.
can happen.
It can happen.
It can
Exactly.
happen.
That can happen.
So
And do it right. Don't fuck this up.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
Before we end, we need all be here.
peace out. Thank you
Peace
guys.
out.
Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you.
No, we hope to do this again somehow. I don't know what. But
It'll happen.
Get out too, I guess. A Wrinkle in Time.
Wrinkle in Time would be a good one. Oh
my God.
Oh my heart.
That's coming in a month.
That's my next.
This episode has been brought to you by the Bohemian Brewery, located at 94 East Fort Union Boulevard in Midvale, Utah.
Please make sure to like,